Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the April 26th Board of Trustees meeting for SUNY Erie. This morning we anticipate to have a quorum. However, as of this moment, we do not. I'm going to ask the secretary to make a roll call, and then I'm going to take us on a tour of our duties for the day. After that, we're going to address any items within the agenda that are not requiring action at this point. But before that, we'll have a discussion, hopefully a robust one.
Sounds good.
At least until Rebecca. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stephen Boyd, absent. Timothy Callan, excused. John Elmore, excused. Todd Hobler.
Here.
Len Lenahan.
Here.
Kate Mastiello, present. Dennis Murphy.
Present.
Susan Swartz, excused. Denise Wilson. Here. Rebecca Krakowiak, expected.
She's on her way.
Today's agenda consists of quite a few things that are meaningful to this institution, college. I'm going to start at the top. As you know, we're coming off our March educational session, and in the packet you have received the outline that was reflecting the educational session. I want to bring forward to you the auditor's reports today that were issued in February of this year, so I'm sure you've seen those already. The drum roll for our budget for 2018 and 19, and I thank again all those of you who have participated in the committee meetings to help get the budget where it is. Today we have two interactions with the 501c3 Foundation, which we're looking forward to. We do this once a year. One is a on-the-record report for the annual review, and then the second is, as you could tell by our agenda, after we adjourn, we're going to conclude with a conversation with the Foundation Board, which no business will be conducted, but it will sure be a good information exchange. Other elements that I think are important to note are, you'll hear from marketing today. We're out there in search for putting together our contract for our website, which is very exciting to hear. I know that all of you have been encouraging the advancement of our website. And then we have quite a few events in May. So it's something that's very important, culminating in graduation in May. So with all that said, I don't expect that we will have an executive session unless there is something that you would all like to move forward. That being said, the College Senate report today will be, I'm sure, as full and active as usual. And we'll also talk about our committees in the chair's report. So that's really the events of the moment. And is there anything, we're going to skip right over the consent agenda because that's all action item. Into number 3, the committee briefings. Is there anything in here that anyone can assist me with, pointing out the items that do not require action that we could talk about?
Looks like it's all.
I have to go all the way to the reports.
Yeah, I think we probably should just skip to the reports.
Okay, we can do that. We are going to go somewhat out of order in this and jumping right down to, would you mind? I thought, yes, there you are. Would you mind? You got business for us today?
Sure.
Thank you. There's no action.
I know you're out.
Should I bring my paper?
Thank you.
We're going to move to item number 7 in the agenda, College Senate report. And as you know, familiar face and a very thorough reporter.
All right. Well, you are very welcome. I'm happy
You're
to
top of
go
the order
first.
today.
I didn't have a chance to get nervous, so it worked out really well. So with our Senate meeting, we met right after the spring break, so we had a ton of things to do, and it was after having 10 days off. So it was very busy, and we accomplished quite a bit, but we have a lot of our task force, so our academic integrity, our affordable instructional materials, they're all coming up with their end of the semester meetings, and they'll be giving us our larger reports for our May meeting. So our May College Senate meeting should be pretty simple and very informative, and that is May 8th if you are available, and it's also going to be streamed on the website. But we also had some information from Fabio regarding assessment and inventive training, and we've gotten together to get close to 15 different sandboxes to help faculty, departments, and programs across the college to get trained on inventive, and which is going to help us with our reporting for middle states. Our Distance Learning Committee has also added 2 rights to our online Bill of Rights. And this was to accommodate the President's initiative to grow our distance learning program, but also to address concerns with the new SARA application. And the SARA application is SUNY Erie's ability to advertise to 48 states. So with that, for example, we cannot require students to do something within Erie County as a part of their class. So what it is the students will have to inform their instructor if it will be unnecessarily hard for them to be able to do different things, and then we'll make accommodations for the students. And then on the flip side, the instructors can expect students to give at least a 2-week window in which they need the accommodations made, so that there's not any last minute changes on either side for everybody. So that'll accommodate that, and we're really looking forward to see what's going to happen now with the marketing with the 48 states. So we're looking forward to seeing how our distance learning program is going to grow in that respect. We also have a possibility of a new task force that's going to be developed in May and June that addresses academic roadmaps. So academic roadmaps is an initiative that the Senate has heard about a couple of different times, and the group is also presented at College Senate, College Day, the chair retreats, and really many different venues within the college. But what it is when students come in, they test either in no developmental classes at all, or perhaps developmental math and college-ready English, or vice versa, the developmental English and college-ready math. So what it is students will come in and they'll be given roadmaps that will help guide them through their curriculum path within the college. So it's based on 15 credit hours per semester, which of course is going to help us with our FTE rates and retention. But there's also a lot of data out there that shows that students that are registered for more than just 12 credit hours achieve academic momentum, and they're more successful as college students. So, and these roadmaps will build so that when they transfers, our students that transfer, 73% of them go to either Buffalo State or the University of Buffalo. And it'll build roadmaps for these students that if they are, for example, in criminal justice, and they're going to transfer to Buffalo State, maybe they'll take a math course, but depending on the math course, if they're going to Buffalo State, it may not be the math course that Buffalo State wants. They may want statistics, so if the student takes a survey of math course, they'll go to Buffalo State and they'll have to take an additional math course. So these roadmaps is going to eliminate that happening to our students. So we're developing a task force, and that's going to be hopefully on our May agenda. And we're going to get that up and running through the summer so that we can start this program, and we're going to incorporate it with our START orientation, so that way when the students actually come in the door and they do their START orientation, we can hand them the academic roadmap that will help them with their path through college. And then in addition to that, our Center for Professional Development, we with the College Senate, we're sponsoring a 3-day summer institute. It's going to be Wednesday, June 6th through Friday, June 8th. And we are going to have different presentations that are going to be for everybody across the college. But we will be talking about academic roadmaps. We're going to have an entire day dedicated to assessment, so that departments and programs throughout the institution, wherever they happen to be at, we will have sessions that will accommodate those types of things. And that's all I got. My next report will be a little bit more robust because we'll have all of our end of the year reports ready for you. But if you want to experience those reports yourself too, we will have them at the May 8th meeting. It'll be here at North Campus, it'll be 207 at 2:30 p.m. And we're also going to be streaming it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
One comment. And thank you for that report. It was great. I think, Lynn, that was the meeting that you attended, were able to attend?
Been a couple of them, yeah.
Okay. So something that came up in that meeting, which also came up in several different meetings that I personally attended, I did not attend that one, was the high rate of dismissals of our students. Mm-hmm. And I believe the number that we're working with was around 1,200. In addition to that dismissal, well, because of that meeting and the other conversations we had, I did request from our president and Rick that we have a report of those dismissals, and that report possibly broken down into more specifics, including demographics and such. That request was made on March 15th. So I am looking forward to working with everyone, including College Senate, Student Success, to see how we could lessen those numbers and make our students who are being dismissed more successful.
We actually had our Academic Standards Committee presented at our March meeting, and actually February and March, regarding academic dismissals and policies, and they presented a new probation and dismissal policy that is going to hopefully eliminate that entire issue with students being dismissed due to credit hours and things like that. Okay. So, and I believe that went to the Board Policy Committee for March.
So they did it today.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to jump over to item number 4, report of the chair, where we can go through a few items that are, shall we say, non-action items. I'd like to introduce and talk about what we've been discussing individually as trustees, and that is our committee structure and the committees. So I'd like to spend a little time on that today, putting all this in context in preparation for our May meeting, which is at the end of May, which will be taking action because we expect to change this committee structure. We also have to act on our bylaw structure. So that's really how we're set up. But after significant discussion with everybody, I'd like to speak about the standing and ad hoc committees, and also about the committees related for nomination for officers coming up in this late summer and fall, and setting all that up. So let's start at the top. First of all, we don't anticipate any change in financial health. It's a core competency for us as board members in working through the year. That will be standing as it is. We look at promoting the current policy committee to a standing committee level going forward. As you know, that is one of our core competencies and jobs as trustees. So we're advancing that from an ad hoc committee. We're also looking and moving, introducing and segregating a couple committees. One is we're bringing advancement into its own standing committee. Advancement is a crucial element of this institution. We've heard President McCoy refer to it numerous times, of where we need to be going with it. And therefore, we're promoting that as a key component. And especially for those of you who sat through last Friday's event, right in this North Campus, where all the scholarships were awarded, I think you'll have a special place in your heart for understanding why advancement is so important in the institution. Planning and assessment stands. As you know, a key component of our work is doing two things: one, planning, and two, assessing. Strategic planning is obviously a component, and it's been standing as it has, as in financial health. And we're going to combine a committee to a standing committee level called Student Success and Diversity. And we're promoting that process and bringing it together. so that we're looking at it. So those are the committee, standing committee environments. We're then also going to make sure that we have the right attention focused on marketing as a standalone group, technology, and curriculum. There is not necessarily a need for those groups to meet on a regular routine basis. However, it doesn't mean that they're unimportant. So that's the way we're looking at the breakout. I'll be speaking to each of you individually over the next 2 or 3 weeks to go through this individually, and just to lay out some standards of what we're looking to achieve on a going forward basis. Something that's really quite unique in comparison to our past committee membership. One is we're looking to bring to the table, where it makes sense, committee members that are not members or trustees of the board. And we felt that it's very important in listening to everybody that we bring people of specific disciplines and expertise in those subject matters to be able to join the board. It's also on a continuing expectation that each trustee, either one, at minimum standards, chairs a committee, or two, participates in 2 committees, either ad hoc or standing. That's also in our bylaws, by the way, and want to continue with that process and standard. The biggest change is bringing in expertise and talent. As you know, we have many advisory councils in this institution. We have many very intelligent working people that are experts in various things, from marketing to accounting to all forms that we work with on a day in and day out basis. And we'd like to have that talent at the table to assist us and provide insight and counsel to us, led by a committee chair, which would be a trustee. So that's really how it's shaping up in that format. As you know, an ad hoc committee will be the nominating committee for officers for late this summer. In May, you'll hear me ask for those expressions of interest who would like to participate on the nominating committee. And then also in May, we will have for you, as you know, the county executive and the chair of this board each appoint 5 members to a joint county college council, for lack of a better word. And we have right now 2 openings that need to be permanently filled. So that will be also handled in May. And I can't talk any slower than this.
I'll let you know as soon as she comes out of the house.
So is there any comment or conversation on that? I know we'll all be reaching out and talking to each other about assuming your chairmanships of those particular committees, but that's really where, after our conversations where we've gone, there's not a lot of dramatic change other than the fact that we're now approaching it in a way where we're looking for human capital, human talent that comes in from the outside of the board for the first time through participating in a committee.
I think that's a great idea. I'm sorry, Lynn.
No, go ahead.
You had your hand raised, so that's the proper way to do it.
I'll defer to you.
I think that's a good idea to bring in other talent and what have you. My question is, how are we seeking these members?
That was my question.
Okay.
So I think there's a couple of things. As we begin to formalize the committees, to know what we stand for and the scope of its work, as we started that process, and we're going to continue to enhance that, the committee chairs will make that final decision. I believe those that are close to us can make the best call on that. I think there will be parameters. There will be parameters established by us as the board as to the style and qualifications and particular background that may be necessary to be able to contribute at the table of these committees. But I think that unless someone sees it differently, I see the committee, whoever is chairing that committee, will be making that decision.
Okay.
Any other thoughts or comments?
And so the nominations will begin at the end of May? Did I get that correct? The nominations for the chair, it says I have at the end of May, there will be nominations for committee chairs and things of that sort. Is that?
So the committee chairs, all the committees in our current structure are frankly appointments of the chair. So the purpose of in this case me, speaking to everybody, was to find out what we'd like to look like going forward in a committee structure, but more importantly, what your personal interests are of what you'd like to do and where you'd like to participate. So I'm going to use the next 3 weeks to talk to you individually about, now that we know the committee structure looks like, to say what parts you'd like to fulfill, play. You all have an important part here. And our goal, as I mentioned, to at minimum 1 committee chair or participate on 2 committees.
But there's the nominating committee, which is separate, and that's for the officers, so that's what's meeting in May,
Gotcha.
right?
So we're going to announce in May, at the May meeting, which is the end of May, expressions or ask for expressions of interest of who would like to be on the committee. Historically, those on the committee have not been people running for office. So does that answer that question?
Yes. From
Not
Okay.
public office, officer.
Okay, you still have public office in your life.
Let's do it. I'm hearing that our final
like
student
steps
trustee
away.
is on her way, so we'll have a quorum shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Hey. Good morning. I'm glad you're here, Rebecca. I couldn't speak any slower. Give you a second to get organized. You didn't do anything illegal to get here, did you?
No. I pulled in
Miss Tracy's
and
standing right behind you.
other than parking in the visitors lot, I hope that's okay. For now.
Okay. So we will bring ourselves back in order now that we have a quorum. Is that correct? We do have a quorum for the record, and now we can get back to our following processes. Before you is item number 1, consent agenda. With items number 1 through number 10 listed before you, do we have a motion to accept items 1 through 10 of the consent agenda? First? Second. Thank you. Gail, you got it? That's okay. Thank you very much. Any questions on the motion? None being said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions. Very good. Item number 3, committee briefings. Curriculum and student success. In the absence of Susan, would Trustee Hogler mind stepping up? And
No, I was at the meeting, the committee meeting last week, and we went over all of this and had some good discussion. And Rick, if you would present
There were 17 advisory councils that members that would move forward. We continue to grow our advisory boards. I think last week at the scholarship luncheon, we saw that. And I think that's continuous advisory we should be working on. We added 2 new flows to the 6 that we currently have in process. These include communications, critical analysis, information literacy, scientific reasoning, quantitative reasoning, technical competency, and we're adding ethics and values and global perspectives. We discussed this at the College Senate, and we're trying to move it forward. This gives us more opportunities to make sure we're measuring correctly what students are learning here at ECC. So we're moving that forward. Another item that I'm going to ask some other people to help us out with here a little bit is the issues related to middle college. And I think Katrina's here and maybe Ann Beauregard to talk about the contract with middle college.
Good morning. We're here to just briefly provide an overview regarding the request for an extension for the middle college initiative. Many of you may have recalled that our previous contract with the Buffalo Public Schools for the middle college was due to expire. We have since been in negotiations with the Buffalo Public School and have decided as an institution that this is a valuable initiative, and we would like to move forward with extending the partnership. With that, we were not able, if we do not extend this contract, to offer admissions and enrollment to new students. So our previous contract was due to expire, and students were only able to graduate. Now we would like to extend the contract so that we can accept anywhere from 48 to 68 new first full-time incoming students, and we would have the ability to begin doing that for the fall 2019 semester. Would you like to add?
If you have any questions, I mean, the current interest in coming to SUNY Erie out of the 68 potentials is currently standing at 45 full-time enrolled non-matriculated students because they have not yet graduated from high school.
I had a great parent meeting last week, and students were asked by the principal to commit how many were interested in enrolling at ECC or SUNY Erie as well as Buffalo State. It was split half and half, and that's the 48 that we're anticipating for fall.
And I'm currently advised and sat with 25 of them working towards enrolling them in the fall. So we're talking full-time enrollment, great students, good retention, and it's just an awesome program. And I'm really excited that we're able to extend it.
Great, thank you.
Any questions on college? We're back in year. We had 11 on it in 2019, but we're going to be extending it right along.
Very good.
I have two more items. One is student fees, and I'll ask, where is she? She's here, I know she's here. Yeah. So if you could talk about fees.
Okay, as you know, Dr. Clark is the chair of the committee, but she is away on a conference, so I'm a non-voting member of the committee, and I will hopefully answer all your questions. And Rebecca is also, as student trustee, a key member of that committee. So the recommendations from the committee being brought forward to you today include no increase in student activity fees. Although the committee did receive more than $303,000 in requests for funding that they could not fund, we did a little creative accounting between what was left over in the excess reserve account, what we anticipate to be the fees for 18-19, moving some money from a student loan account that doesn't necessarily need to have that much money. The students were able to decide to fund majority of the requests, what they felt was important to them, and so a total of $1,356,839 in funding initiatives for the student activities for next year. Any
And
questions?
that holds the line on it.
That holds the line with no increases in activity fees. Question?
Pretty straightforward, very thorough, thank you. Rick, anything else?
Yes, last item is we just signed an agreement with Catholic Charities to offer non-credit services at their sites as well as Northland's. So this contract will be about $87,000, and we'll split that with Catholic Charities.
Any other comments or questions, Trustee Hobler, for the committee before we ask for a vote? Yes.
One question just regarding item number 7 with the contract requested between college and Hudson regarding Starfish, blah, 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 blah. I see that you have, and I think we should note this, that you have a big jump in utilization within Starfish.
Yes.
But something within, something within here also spoke that this renewal brings lower rates. Can you talk to me about that a little bit?
Heather? Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yes, to answer your question, this year we saw significant assistance college-wide with faculty engagement. One of the biggest pushes that we had was working with the registrar office with the never attended survey specifically and taking attendance. So as you know, taking attendance is pivotal for student retention in that it identifies potential issues much earlier, and the more faculty participation that we have with taking daily attendance and of course the never attended survey, which protects the students' both academic integrity and financial liability, is an important step. That was one of the biggest survey response rates that we had to date. It was 71.2%. And we also saw increases with our early term survey submissions, and we're just calculating our midterm survey rates as well. So that we've seen increases in participation. We're working with marketing this year to help with increasing our student engagement and understanding of the early alert tool. And so we've started in kind of little ways in advertising through orientation and publications through admissions packets and so on. But we're very excited about partnering with marketing because the raise your hand feature, in my opinion, is one of the most pivotal flags that we have, because it allows the students to kind of develop their own self-efficacy, and if they are having difficulties, it's a way for them to get immediate interventions and support where they most need it. And we have different categories that we identify that might help students in articulating what those needs are, but we have systems in place to ensure that those needs are being met.
Okay. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Is there also a way, and I know it's probably too soon now, but to track how many of the raise your hand, how many students are using that feature?
We do actually have data on raise your hand, which I could supply for if you want. It's very nominal right now because we haven't done a very aggressive campaign. Students are just becoming aware of it through orientation. But what was interesting is when we did these start orientation sessions and there was a technology session, students were made aware of this, and what we did was we actually created a flag for a raffle so that students, when they create their profile, they would enter a raffle and then they would learn basically how to create their profile, how to raise their hand. We also integrate with faculty, and we just got approved through academic standards this year to have a unified statement about Starfish and its use through the standard template for faculty, which is encouraging. And each year we do both a scavenger hunt and that encourages students to understand how they use both Starfish and Success Navigator. So faculty have been really helpful in encouraging students to be able to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and to answer your question about the standardizing, this actually went into effect last year. There are numerous SUNY schools that have adopted Starfish as their early alert tool, and so in order to, in keeping with that, there's state contracted prices, which is why it's a substantial cost increase.
Good. Thank you.
And we in the marketing committee have been talking about a student success campaign incorporating Starfish and the proper rollout so that students understand that this tool is available to them.
Right. Thank you.
To piggyback off of what Heather just said, so the actual, one of the things that Heather and I talked about when we met was what is the most important thing students need to know about that tool, and it's raise your hand. So the entire campaign is going to be based off of raising your hand. I have one of my designers actually working on creating a starfish with a raised hand that will become the icon for that. So it will have the web address to drive them to right across the center of it, so it will be very prominent in everything we do. But it'll allow us to do things like create a die cut, so when students go to student orientation, rather than just getting a flyer in there, it'll have a die cut that might actually have a magnet on it. They can stick on a refrigerator at home, so now mom and dad are seeing that too if they happen to live at home. But being able to give out those giveaway items as well, that, you know, that the pop sockets that are so popular with the kids, we could actually do something like that to give out to students, so it really kind of keeps it in the forefront of their mind. But to develop an annual, year-long campaign, so we're consistently pushing that messaging out to students, that this tool is available to them, and trying to get additional students to start using it.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? That being said, I have one comment just as a reference. The item that was put on your table today is not part of the record. It's for information only. The precedence is item number 7 on page 325, which is what takes precedence or the potential resolution, so you're aware of that.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to accept items number 1 through 7?
Motion.
Second.
Second, thank you. All those, excuse me, any questions on the motion? None being said, items 1 through 7, all in favor? Any opposed? None being shown? Beautiful. Any other items as far as board information?
Rick, anything else?
And the last one is that our vision care technology
Right.
has been improved through 2023.
Congratulations.
We're very happy about that. It's one of our premier programs. And we not only fill those seats here in Buffalo, but also in Rochester and other places. So it's very good for us.
Thanks, Rick.
And for the record, the minutes of the committee meetings are submitted
Received.
and received. Financial health. Today is a big day for financial health, bigger than even usual. So we're going to jump right into it. The reason why it's a big day, obviously the lead hitter on this is obviously budget. It may not be chronologically on your list, but it is the big item of the day that we've been working on committee level. And number 2, once again to bring to your attention, is our specific items as it relates to the audit, and making sure that the audit was received in the appropriate way. It has been at committee level, and now it's to be in front of the board. Penny, would you mind taking us on a tour? And
Do you want to go through the motion items first, or the
Let's go
approval
through-
items, or the motion items, does it matter?
let's go through the motion items.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we have minutes on there, obviously, from the January Financial Health Committee meeting. We've had 2 Financial Health Committee meetings in April, one on the 13th, where you guys got the first very rough draft of the budget, and then the meeting that we had Tuesday afternoon, where you got the entire package and we talked through all of those items. The minutes for those will be coming out shortly. We also, when did we get that? In February, we got the financial audit for 16-17. They came and presented, showed us, how the results of that came out. And in that, probably the biggest thing is that we put $3.1 million back into the fund balance as we closed out 16-17. So that was a very positive thing that happened.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you say that one more time?
$3.1 million back into the fund balance for
I like the
16-17.
sound of that. Yes. Congratulations, everybody.
So, then there's a few reports in there, the finance dashboards, all the items that we normally put in front of you all. I don't know if you have any questions on them. I don't think there was anything in particular on them that came up in the board meeting that we needed to talk about. If you have questions, I can answer those. And then the final EFPR, the external review group that you guys approved in the fall to come in and help us look at the business processes for finance. Their report came out and finalized this month. I think we looked at it the 13th, on April 13th at that board meeting. They had quite a few recommendations on, some of the things that we already know, things about needing to look at the infrastructure from the finance side, how we begin to integrate some of the functionality of those, redoing and rewriting some of our business processes, which we're working on through the policy committee. But that was presented, the recommendations are in there, and we're working our way through trying to address them as we can get to them. So, any questions on the information items?
I don't have a question.
Yes.
I'm talking a lot today. But this is an important agenda. So, I just want to make a point here. Everyone clapped for the fund balance, but we should also be clapping that there is no tuition increase in here. So clap for that. I also just would like to say that the budget that's proposed looks grand. From my standpoint, it looks very promising. There is one piece in here that I just would like to just make a point for the record. We are as a board, we are approving $100,000 budgeted for performance-based increases. And I am all for performance-based increases. If you do well, you should be rewarded. I just want to make sure that there is going to be clear objectives and goals tied to those performance increases, and that I don't think it's our role into monitoring that at all, but I just want to make sure that there's something in place and that at least we have a policy in place on how those are distributed. That's my
And to that point, when we had our meeting on Tuesday afternoon, it was very clear that what we will do is get those standards in place before we ever start allocating those dollars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the perfect segue into talking about the budget.
It certainly is.
So, and that your point, thank you for bringing that up, because I think that is an important feature as it relates to all the interesting points we're going to find out about this, but there needs to be a mechanism in place for the $100,000 expenditure. I think that everyone committed to that the other day.
So do you want to go about the budget, or do you want to slam out the other shorter ones first, the approval ones?
Let's go to the budget.
Okay, let's go to the budget. So 18-19 budget. Key takeaways are, as Denise, sorry, my mind is blanking on names. So stated, there are 0 tuition and fee increases in the budget for 18-19. The second commitment that we made was that we would not use fund balance dollars to balance the operating budget. So the dollars that we generate in the 18-19 year or the expenditures will stay within those dollars that we generate in the 18-19 year. The only thing that we are requesting out of fund balance as a new standard going forward is the continuation year 2 of the ERP Workday implementation of $2.9 million. And moving forward, the construct of the budget will hold operating dollars, so with an operating revenue generated, and then fund balance only used for special project requests to jump the college forward and to take care of some of the things that we just might not be able to swing out of the operating budget, but very specific projects that would be related to that. So those are the 3 big things. The expenditures are held to within, I think what we have 107 million last year without the ERP project, and we're looking roughly at 108 million this year without the ERP project for operating expenses.
Mr. President, as the inaugural budget for you, any particular observations or comments?
Well,
Exciting.
I just want to thank Penny Howard for her exceptional work here. It's a new day at SUNY Erie. This is the first time in 4 years that we've had a balanced operational budget without dipping into reserves or raising tuition or fees. And so credit goes to Penny and her team. I think what she's accomplished is nothing short of a small miracle. I'm thinking of multiplication of the loaves in the Bible. It also serves to neutralize one of the concerns of Middle States in terms of our financial sustainability, because we've had surpluses over the past 2 years since my arrival, and looking forward, we have a pathway towards sustainability. And so it was my commitment to this board, to the county executive, and the county ledge that we would not be raising tuition and fees moving forward.
Well, that's apparent in this particular budget. You want to run through any of it? Would you like to take this as a separate approval, or would you like to group this up with the rest of the approvals? It's your pleasure.
The budget probably should be approved as separate.
Separate?
Yeah.
Okay. Then do we have a motion to accept the budget as presented?
I'll move.
Thanks, Len. Do you have a second? Trustee Holbrook, thank you. Discussion on the motion?
I just want to second what President McCoy said. I think it's a great message to our accreditation agencies that we are, Dan's first year as president, passing a budget without tuition increases, fee increases, and not hitting the fund balance for operational needs. So I think it's a great signal, that it is a new day here. And so I want to applaud Penny and Tim and members of the Finance Committee and everybody who worked hard on this. I think we're off to a great start.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
And thank you on behalf of the students.
Yeah.
I think that's really what
That's
we're
why
all
we're here.
about,
Yeah.
and that's why we're here,
That's why
and
we're here.
they will benefit from this, so thank you for your good work.
No other comments or questions being stated? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I would like to add a trailer to both Dr. McCoy and Len's comments as to as it relates to the financial conditions and issues. As you know, however, it's been viewed and perceived, the observation has been that we have been able to move from an unsustainable model financially to a stabilized model. And we're on a clear pathway, as you know, as Annie mentioned. We are, if things go as we forecasted, one, we put $3.1 million back into reserves. And by the way, for the record, our reserves are as healthy as anyone in the state of New York for an institution. Two, that we've done it again. It looks like the forecast for this year and the vision. We're working on that pathway.
Don't make any promises yet.
And most importantly, as of today, the budget's reflecting it, not just hoping that we have a good year end. So I think that is pretty clear of how everyone involved in this organization, an institution, managerial, and to your leadership as trustees, have allowed this to transpire. And I thank you. Thank you again, President McCoy. I salute to you, sir.
Thank you.
And just I'm trying, we're monitoring the spend every week, and the trend is showing right now that our revenues are staying ahead of our expenditures. So we're anticipating, having that occur all the way through the end of the year. That's what we're managing to. So, all right, the other items on here.
1 through 5.
1 through 5, pretty quick. So we did really good on the all of the resolutions you guys have to have in front of you for this. Except for disposal of asset vehicle trade-in. I had trade-in language across everything. The actual resolution had scrapping.
Yes.
So we tweaked that a little bit so that it actually says trade-in on the resolution as well. So 2 vehicles that we are trading in on new campus safety vehicles. We are creating for our assets as we move through this year and into next year. We're creating replacement cycles so that we don't hit a point where the vehicles break down while we're needing to use them. It seems to be something that we've kind of done historically. One of the other items on here is because of that kind of behavior, we've got to get you guys to approve the sole source repairs for the ophthalmology machine. It is an exceedingly old machine. It broke in the middle of the semester. Ended up exceeding what is normally allowable for us to pay for something before we have to go to RFP and all of those other things. But of course we had to get the piece of equipment fixed and back in the classroom so the class could finish. So we just need y'all's approval to be able to pay that sole source repair document. Disposal of materials, there are some things we're surplusing on the IT side. That's in a separate resolution there, nothing significant. And then the 2 contract pieces in here, as we are implementing Workday, we've got to also make sure that colleagues stays functional. It is highly customized, and the customizations were done by people. There's not a whole lot of people out there that understand our customizations, so we do have someone that we keep on contract for about $20,000 a year total that comes in and helps keep the customizations updated as colleague gets updated. So the first one, the short-term one, is for this year. It's to finish out this year. It's the last $10,000 we need to get him through the end of this year, and then we went ahead and put it in. So for that, the 18-19 budget, we've already got him approved to continue doing that work while we finish up the implementation of Workday.
And that will be the last time we have this.
It will be 18-19 is what we're hoping that will be the end of it. If it's not, it's 1 more year and then we're done. So it is significantly cheaper than having someone on staff to do that by about $80,000 a year.
Any other questions? If not, we'll take a motion to accept items 1 through 5 of the Financial Health Committee report. Denise, thank you. Second? Madam Secretary? Questions, comments, observations? None being said, all those in favor? Unanimously carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have, Mike, I'm going to ask you to, if you wouldn't mind, take the lead on talent management and diversity report. We have one item for you, and I believe this is an action item. Tracy, hello to you.
Hello.
Would you mind standing and orientating?
I would love to.
Thank you.
So actually, the only item we have on here is the renewal of Taleo. It's an Oracle software. We use Taleo for our applicant tracking system. So we need to continue to renew until we actually transition into Workday Recruit. So this is a renewal for 1 more year. And I think that should be it for us. So we'll be able to make that transition within this next year. So that's what that is. Questions on that?
Page 596. It's under 1,000. Amazing how we're getting, isn't it? Any other comments? So we have a motion to accept as presented. Thank you, Trustee Hobler. Second, Denise. Thank you very much. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Answer carried. Thorough presentation. I'm looking around. I said, "Jim, back over here." Today. Number 4, the committee report, strategic planning and assessment. There's no particular action items except for the record that we received December's, January, and February's committee minutes that will be going into the record. One thing I do want to point out, as you know, Middle States has been front and center for us as an issue. And after our last board meeting, Dr. McKittrick was in on campus and held a trustee educational session where we had various conversations in various committees. I think that was very helpful in understanding, specifically to the points of assessment. And of course, we've already talked about finance. So I just wanted to make sure I brought that information forward to you. And as you know, once again, in both planning and assessment, during our March conversation, our educational session, that was also, again, part of our discussions, specifically as student council was giving us providing us information. So that's my report to you on strategic planning and assessment. Any questions or comments you'd like to move on? None? Okay. Number 5, marketing and institutional advancement. Chairman Asiello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Marketing and Institutional Advancement Committee met on April 13th. Our committee discussed the split of the current committee as it stands from a permanent committee to split the marketing committee to an ad hoc committee and have institutional committee be its own standing committee, and the committee understood and discussed why this was important to the future of the college, so that was approved. We have some exciting new RFPs that we have issued, and Paula Sandy will be talking about those in regards to our search engine and our website, so I'll ask Paula to speak specifically to those.
Thank you again. Okay, so the first one is the RFP for search engine marketing services. And we talked about this a little bit before. What this will do, what this service will do is actually raise our profile up in Google, Bing, and Yahoo search rankings. The importance of this, obviously, is that we don't have somebody in-house who can do this for us on a regular basis. So we want to contract this out to somebody who has expertise in these areas. So we actually did an RFP out to the community. We had 9 companies respond, 2 of which had a local presence. The committee met and reviewed all of the applicants and decided unanimously on Spectrum Reach, which actually has a local presence here. And is a company that we actually already have an existing relationship with. What I'm requesting is that we put this forward as a not-to-exceed amount of $4,000 per month, not to exceed $48,000 annually. What this allows me to do is do some flexibility within the contract with the company to determine which months where we might need to push multiple things up into our search engine rankings based on what we're doing for advertising throughout the year. But that is what we're looking to do. I am not looking for additional funding for this. As I've reallocated funds throughout the marketing budget, this will come out of our existing marketing funds, so we're not looking to ask for anything additional to cover this cost. That leads me into the second RFP that we had out, and that was for the consultation, design, and reconfiguration of the content management system, as well as the design of our website. There were initially 14 vendors who submitted for this. We did an initial vetting of this and brought the finalist presentations down to 3 content management service providers with 6 different design firms who were actually affiliated with the content management system providers. After a day of 9 presentations, the committee actually made the decision, again unanimously, to go with Update as the content management provider. They're a California-based company who has a long-standing relationship with many SUNY institutions, as well as iFactory for the web design services, and they're a Boston-based company who has worked with Omni in the past, and their cohesion between their site, between their design as well as what the content management system can do is very, very cohesive, and that is one of the areas that we've been lacking in currently. One of the most impressive things that we saw in the presentation from this team was that the morning of the presentation, they actually did a site scan on our existing website and talked to us about all of the things that they were recommending within their proposal to say that where we were lacking and what we could do to improve our site just without even working with us on a regular basis at this point. So the proposal for this, again, is a not to exceed amount. The iFactory design services would be a not to exceed $85,000, which would be a one-time cost. That would be a 6 to 7 month process with them to be able to redesign the site and create the coding that needs to go into the content management system. The Omni Update content management system service, we're asking for a not to exceed $40,000 annually to do a 3-year contract with them. For Omni Update, we already pay for content management system, and that proposal also does include off-site hosting, which is something that was important for ITS that we not have to maintain that within our site or within our systems ourselves. So that does include the off-site hosting cost on an annual basis. That is actually something that's in the existing budget. We're already paying for that service on an annual basis, so we're not going to be looking for an increase there. We are asking for a one-time increase, which I have worked with Penny on figuring out within the budget to offset the cost of the design services, because marketing does not have that funding in its budget currently. But I am asking to move that forward, and then what this would do is allow us to go before the legislature for approval on this one. And then once the contracts are in place, again, it's a 6 to 7 month process from start to finish. So we would be launching a new website with a new content management system in place early next year, probably shortly after the spring semester starts. After we get through the drop-dead period, we have a window in there before we need to start pushing for open house that we would be able to launch the new site and make sure we had proper testing in place.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
So we need to approve these RFPs.
Do we have a motion to accept items 1 and 2? Thank you. Trustee Monahan, second. Trustee Masiello. Any questions on the motion?
Just say that this is number 2 is the configuration of the content management system, not college management system. It's on the
For the record, thank you. As secretary, we appreciate that correction. All in favor? Any opposed? None being said, and that's carried again. Thank you. Marketing and Institutional Advancement Committee minutes for the record.
Yes, we ask that the board receive those minutes.
So moved. So noted. Thank you. February and March. Next item is item number 4, Roman number 4 on the list for you, report of the chair. We have numerous items, but as you know, we wouldn't get by a meeting without reading what?
Our vision.
Mission and vision. So I'm going to take the shot at this today and insert it in the chair's report. Colleagues, trustees, Erie Community College meets the needs of a diverse student body and contributes to regional economic vitality by providing high quality, flexible, affordable, and accessible education programs committed to student success. Feels stronger today than any other day, especially in view of the budget we adopted today. So that being said, I'll move on. We have a motion item before you. Request for motion to approve the SUNY Erie, Board of Trustees resolution regarding planning and assessment. I'd like to ask our policy committee chair just to outline that for us and the update. If there's any particular questions, and then we'll ask for a motion.
This is a result of our meeting with our advisor, Dr. McKittrick, who came following the board meeting last month. And this resolution that's before us is to make sure that we formalize our approach to planning and assessment in terms of every unit and every academic section of the college, establishing goals and objectives and a plan to arrive at those and to report on those. And this is important to our Middle States accreditation, but also in just planning our work and making sure that we all understand and we are transparent about the goals of each unit, each department, and what the timeline for achieving those goals is, and some accountability if they do not. So the resolution is before you on page 747, which incorporates a timeline and establishes our desire to have this goal-based unit-level planning going forward.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for this resolution? Thank you, Trustee Opler. Second? Thank you. Questions, comments for this resolution? All those in favor? Any opposed? None being said. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Committee reports. We got policies coming up next.
The policy committee met also on April 13th as a point that I wanted to discuss with the board. We have reviewed all of the correction action plan items that were assigned to the policy committee and discussed, and I can report that we are in compliance with all those that were assigned to us.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And the policies that are before us today, we have 3 listed here, but number 3 I have been asked by the provost to hold, so we will bring that back to the policy committee for further review, and so that before us today are just the individualized instruction policy and the probation dismissal policy. We take the first one, individualized instruction policy. This is just allowing, under special circumstances, a student who can identify and demonstrate a compelling reason that they may be allowed to receive individualized instruction for a course. And this is up to the student and the advisor and the professor to work this out, but we wanted to formalize this policy so that this option is available to students. Anybody have questions? So then I would like to move approval of this individualized instruction policy.
So moved. Second. Thank you, Denise. Questions or comments? None being said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None being shown. Getting that carried.
Thank you. The second board policy before you is about probation and dismissal. So our current policy dictates that students are dismissed if they don't meet minimum GPA standards. And that results in too many students being dismissed before they're put on probation. This policy has been, we've been talking about it since July, then we've worked it with the College Senate, and we have, at our last committee meeting on April 13th, identified this policy as addressing some of the concerns that were expressed by Trustee Wilson earlier this morning. It does require academic advisors to meet with students if they are below a certain cumulative quality point average, and that the student and the advisor and the professor work out a student success plan so that they understand what that success plan looks like, what steps have to be taken, what ramifications exist and consequences if those steps are not taken. So that's in summary of the policy, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kate.
Do we have a motion to accept? Trustee Lenihan, the second. Thanks, Rebecca. Comments, questions?
So So, do we now consider we have a due process system, or, I mean?
Well, this is a process for making sure that there's a probationary period that the student is alerted about, and that
Right.
there's a requirement that
That's
there is
okay.
a success plan going forward,
Right.
so that there is more transparency
Right.
and communication.
This
about
doesn't necessarily relate to the
expectations.
discussion we had about student, we had at the meeting, and we have to go a little beyond.
I think the more we tighten up our policies
Yeah.
on, academics and
Okay.
probation periods, I mean, we're trying to.
This is what we're doing with
This
that.
is what our approach is as a
Okay.
policy-driven board to address situations that may come up and have a rationale for why.
Yeah, I think the goal is more with this to never let it get to that point.
Right.
That the student up front knows the
Right.
expectations, so then they can never come back and say that they didn't understand.
Good work. I got it.
Understood. Thank you. Good. Any other comments? We'll take a vote then. All those in favor? Any opposed? None being said. Thank you, it's carried. For board's information, we have quite a few things. There's Mr. Masiallo over here.
Yes.
Board committee policy and management policy acceptance.
So we have minutes from the February and March meetings of the board. We also have 2 managerial policies, one on planning and assessment that formalizes really the resolution that we just discussed, and the student's grievance of academic decisions. This again provides students with an avenue for which they can employ when they have some concerns and disagreement about academic decisions that are made affecting their career at SUNY Erie.
Okay, so noted. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments as it relates to the report of the chair before we move on?
I'm sorry if I missed this, but are we not voting on the third one, the student credit hour enrollment?
Yes, that one, we've tabled that
Okay.
at the request of the provost.
Okay, sorry about that.
Does anyone object to that? For the record? None? Okay. And we've said anything else for the chair's report? I think that we are very close to have every committee represent compliance as it relates to our action plan from last year, and this will be done annualized. But I think we have 2 committees left, so we're almost over the hump for unanimous compliance, but we will get there, I assure you, by May. Thank you. Report of the President, Dr. Okoye.
So, spring is upon us. Robins and cardinals are found, and I have a fresh cornucopia of updates for you. I wanted to talk briefly about our $100,000 in President's Awards that was included in the recently approved budget. So this was a product of ongoing conversations with Andy Sacco and Katie Cook, and we feel it's very important to recognize exceptional performance by our faculty and administrators. Andy and I are also looking at a pathway to citizenship for our best adjuncts. We want to find a way to reward and retain our distinguished adjuncts, as well as move them into permanent status as instructors and tenured faculty. Continuing with academic affairs, in institutional research assessment, accreditation, and planning, the new Ventive program is launching and will help our departments with accreditation reporting, both program competency and course assessment, as well as the delivery of standardized SUNY Erie Excel reports, which we're all excited about. So good software is a beautiful thing. In response to concerns expressed during the middle stage visit, 2 college success skills courses will become mandatory in liberal arts and sciences. This degree modification ensures that 7 of the 10 SUNY general education requirement knowledge areas are now required courses. In the area of program curriculum development, New York State Ed and SUNY approved a new degree program entitled Computer and Electronics Technology, which is part and parcel of SUNY Erie becoming more innovative and relevant, and credit goes to Rick Wachowski for his exceptional continuous work in this department. Our Northlands Workforce Training Center is currently under review by New York State Ed and anticipates opening in the fall of 2018. We are anticipating up to 350 SUNY Erie and Alfred State students. And it seems that we have resolved our drug testing issue that arose in the past month or so. There was concern that this would prevent students from coming, and so in conversation with Steve Tucker, we are taking that off the website and having conversations with students regarding drug testing, which is required by employers. Denise, do you have a...
No.
Okay. Consistent with our Students First mandate, affordable instructional materials are now offered in 276 course sections, representing a savings of over $400,000 to students. And I want to thank the faculty in making great efforts to make education more affordable to our students. The Workforce Investment Board recently recertified SUNY Erie North and South one-stop career centers after their comprehensive review of our operations and effectiveness. Last year, the one-stops placed 1,000 individuals in jobs with an average annual wage of $35,000 or more, which represented a 5% increase in wages from the previous year. Going to student affairs, SUNY Erie has opened a Food for Thought closet in the Student Activities Office on each of our campuses. These closets have been developed to address issues of food insecurity and hunger on campus and are available to students who are referred by faculty and staff or are self-referred. Food and snacks are also available, as well as a list of other local food pantries. SUNY Erie joined the One Love Foundation in a campaign to go around the world for Yeardley, in honor of Yeardley Love, a UVA student who was beaten to death by her ex-boyfriend just weeks before her graduation. This annual event is intended to inspire important conversations about relationship abuse. SUNY Erie hosted its main event at South Campus on April the 12th, with an opportunity for participation at North and City campuses as well. I want to thank Nora Clark and the Deans of Students, including Heather and Katrina, who are in attendance today, for their leadership in this important area. Mental health first aid training is open monthly to all faculty, staff, and students. This 8-hour training program certifies participants for 3 years. April's training dates yielded the largest registration to date with 56 registrants. So we are now equipped to address any craziness that might arise at the college. In terms of diversity and inclusive excellence at SUNY Erie, we've had a substantive and constructive conversation with our diversity committee members, which include Judge Jim McLeod, Brenda Duffy, as well as other community members, as well as our own staff and faculty. I want to applaud Lydell Fortune, our Chief Diversity Officer, for his new initiatives, including a critical conversation series to discuss diversity issues impacting our college and community. It's clear we have room for improvement in terms of making our curriculum and our college environment more inclusive of different populations. You know, as someone whose first language isn't English and the first in my family to go to college, this is a priority close to my heart and one to which I have a personal commitment. In consultation with Trustees Denise Wilson and John Elmore, we are engaging in a comprehensive review of dismissals and student success with regard to race and gender to see if there's any disproportionality with regards to programs, campus, or faculty. So with spring comes a blossoming of the arts. There was a literary event at South a month ago in which we had a very exciting conversation about immigration in the U.S., in which I presented a talk about immigrants and refugees making America great again. And there was an art fair that took place just yesterday here at North, at the library. Student artwork was featured, including that of our very talented student trustee. I've sent you a picture of that recently. In terms of enrollment management, first-time applicant numbers are up by 1% over this time last year. And we have open houses taking place on all 3 campuses this week. A comparison of 2016-17 numbers to 2017-18 numbers in advanced studies show significant growth in revenue, in FTEs, in number of classes, and in seats filled. With our distance learning initiative, we are also offering 4 courses to high school students this summer in an online format. So thanks to Deb Schmidt for her very successful efforts here. In terms of athletics, the spring athletics teams are off to a solid start. Softball is currently ranked 6th, baseball is currently ranked 3rd, and women's lacrosse is currently tied for 1st place in the national sport of Canada. I think our unique advantage derives from the fact that we drink from the same waters as Canadians. The Student Career Services Office held its annual career and internship fair in early April and had more than 350 students and 88 employers in attendance. From marketing and communications, marketing is coordinating participation in a number of community events this summer, including cooking demonstrations at the Erie County Fair with our city and north culinary programs. With regards to human resources, the primary focus continues to be the implementation of Workday. And the team is also working to identify and craft necessary policies for this summer. There are also a number of wellness activities coming up this summer for staff, including the Summer Walking Challenge. I've had several meetings with Buddy Campbell, the CEO of Buffalo Niagara Wise, of which there are, I think, 16 branches, and we've been talking about ways we can collaborate better. Moving to advancement, I want to introduce to you Jonathan Ray, who's sitting at the back of the room. If you could stand up. He comes to us from the University of California, San Diego. We thought he was here just for the snow, but he is still here, so it's obvious he's here for more than that. Do you want to say a few words, Jonathan?
Greetings, everyone. Again, I'm Jonathan Ray. Although I was recently at San Diego, I'm from the Cleveland area. Go Cavs. Hope the Browns do some drafting today. I don't know. But no, I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited to be here working with Dan and Mike and the whole team. And just a little bit about my background. I've worked in higher education for over 20 years. Career services and alumni relations, and worked at a number of institutions. But I've always been drawn to community colleges because a generation ago that was my mother. And I know what it's about, and I know what you can do for a community, and how you add value to the community, and certainly the lives of the students. So I'm looking forward. I've met some of you, many of you, others I have yet to meet, but I'm looking forward to working with you, and let's go Cats.
Thank you, John. Thanks to Jonathan and Mike and Chris and others who organized a very successful scholarship luncheon last Friday. This is an annual event that renews our faith in humanity, because we see these very generous donors provide opportunities for our students. And as some of you have heard my stump speech about the Tale of Two Cities, I really believe that education is the key to transforming this area, not only for the near future, but for centuries to come. I also wanted to mention that my investiture this year, in line with our efforts to be entrepreneurial, is being sponsored by TIIA-CREF. This is the first time an investiture has been sponsored by a corporate entity. We think it's a good direction for the college to have some of the expenses moving forward covered by business and industry. Last but not least, buildings and grounds. So in our effort to create efficiencies, we combined the positions of facilities and security under Tracy Gast, who is now VP of Security and Facilities, and his oversight has already paid off. There was a long-standing issue with the New York State Office of Fire Prevention and Control regarding our insufficient water pressure and volume at South Campus. And various contractors studied this problem, and various solutions were proposed, but the resolution of the issue was ultimately discovered by two of our buildings and grounds staff, which we have today, and their work will result in a 7-figure cost savings to the college. I wanted to turn it over to Tracy Gast to recognize these individuals as well as describe what happened.
Yeah, I got 3 guys here to recognize. We had a water problem at South Campus that was affecting our fire protection system. This has been going on for several years. The fire marshal was aware of it. We've worked very hard with the county. We're looking at a $1.2 million solution to that problem. Various engineers had sat down and reviewed this, and we kind of stayed back and let the county kind of look at this problem to try to resolve it. They're our landlord. We said enough's enough. We let a few of our guys, and Sean and JP stand up, and Rich Rojek, their supervisor, we let these guys look at the problem. Within about 45 minutes to an hour with some other work, we saved $1.2 million finding. These guys found a wiring problem that had been existing for a year and a half, 2 years, that none of the expert engineers could find, and fixed it. We went from about a 200-gallon flow per minute, our hydrants, to over 1,000, which made the fire marshal ecstatic. So, and it was to these guys and Rich who turned them loose and said, the experts can't find it, please use your talents and your skills, go in and see what you can do, and they did it and did a great job with it, and it's just fantastic, the talent we have here at SUNY Erie in our building and grounds.
As you know, at South we've had the perennial issue of clogged toilets. Well, finally that problem has been flushed, thanks to Tracy and his crew. That's all from the President's report.
Thank you, Dr. Coy. Any questions or comments? Trustees? None being said? Rebecca, trustee.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
So, as of April 17th, applications have closed for SGA, and we had a really good turnout for that. So we're hoping that come next week, once elections go through, that'll smooth out and all of our new members will be starting as of June 1st. Then we also have just tying up some loose ends with our student awards banquet or luncheon that we're going to be doing, and then of course the inaugural events that we'll be hosting next week in honor of President Hoc. Also, a handful of us attended a conference in Atlanta. At that conference, we learned more about how we can be more inclusive, include more diversity, and have more women empowerment throughout our school as well. So we're going to be meeting as a group of all of the women who attended and seeing what we can how we can take what we learned and move forward with that. So, short and sweet. Do you have any questions?
I think it's shorter than some history.
Good luck on your exams.
Yes.
Thank you.
Focus of attention, no question about it. Any questions or comments for the trustee report?
Just to say that you've just done a great job, sure, and really appreciate your efforts, and it's a real, example for all the students how they can participate and contribute.
We are going to, we've already had our college senate report. We have a couple of items here. First of all, unless there's, I'm going to go a little bit out of order, and I'll explain in a moment. I'm assuming there's no reason or need for executive session. Mark that for the record.
Yeah.
That's very good. Today at 11 or so, we are going to move into our learning opportunity. But before we get to that, we need to have a report from our 501c3 Foundation colleagues. Mark Gall, its current chair, is not here yet. So I'm going to go into a couple of other items, and unfortunately, if we don't do that, we'll probably move that report until an information session, if that's okay with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in deference to everybody's time. So I think some items on, first of all, is there any new business or old business that we'd like to make sure that's on the table for the May meeting? None? Thank you. New business. You heard Dr. Coy and Rebecca speak about the activities of May. Most importantly, as Trustee Maciel pointed out, it's final exam cycle. So ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the most important item. But as a result of good final exams, people do have commencement, graduate. So on your marker for May 23rd, if you haven't already, and haven't sent in all your information to Gail, please make sure that that happens. That is the 4th Wednesday of May, and that will be at Buff State, same location. May the 4th, Friday, is the President's inauguration here at the North Campus. And as you know, once again, if you haven't already made your reservations for that, it's something that's important to do. And Michael, I can't think of any other business.
We've been stalling for a while.
I'm happy to do it if you want to do it.
Well, is there if it's okay with everybody here.
I'm sorry, I'm asking if there's a financial health meeting in May. I'm sorry. That's all.
Always ahead, Denise, I like that. If there's not any other official business, what we will do, if it's okay with you, we will take a summary report for the May submittal into the record for the end of May's meeting, based on the presentation after we end business today. Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? Okay. So if there's no other new business, we'll take a motion to adjourn today's business of the board.
So moved.
And a second? Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Our business meeting is complete for the day.